Mezzanine test one. Mezzanine test one. Podium mic test one. Microphone 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Public input mic. Back table 1. Back table 2.
You're not taking a vote on it. Not taking a vote on this. No, it's just for information. Take a vote on adjourning, take a vote on this. Really? I'm just reviewing it. So you can pass it.
Hi, I'm Stan Kusikowski.
Hey, Fred.
On the booth. Well, that was okay.
Beth, how are you? Thank you.
Lisa, could you, I appreciate.
Nice to meet
Yeah,
you.
thanks. He did, he's come.
So, but
Go ahead. Yeah,
Good
no,
disappointing,
a
but
good start, yeah.
also now it's kind of like less anxiety. And sometimes, we'll see. So we'll see what happens.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call to order the September 22nd, 2025 City Council Special Meeting to order. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
President Laflamme,
Here.
Roy,
Here.
Ariaga.
Here.
Brooks,
Here.
Goff.
Here.
Valakir. Crumpets,
Here.
Shumsky,
Here.
Kushein. Labrie.
Here.
Piniac Costello.
Here.
Thank you. Counselor Brooks is participating for this special meeting from Zoom. Is there anyone, other counselors on Zoom? I see there's none. In compliance with the open meeting law, the city of Chicopee is broadcasting live and for future broadcasts this meeting on Chicopee TV. Is anyone in the audience or on Zoom, video or audio taping this meeting? Please state your name and reason for doing so. Thank you. Okay. Clerk, could you call the reading of the meeting notice, please?
To Frank Laflamme, City Council President, from Mayor John View, special meeting September 22nd at 6:30 p.m. Dear President Laflamme, as requested, the special meeting of the City Council is called for Anna Berry School Proposed Alternative Review, These will be the only items on the agenda for the special meeting. If you have questions, please let me know. Very truly yours, John View, Mayor.
Thank you. We will now go into public input. Public input is limited 3 minutes or less. Is anyone in the audience here for public input? If so, state your name and your address for the record, please. You have 3 minutes on my right. Thank you.
Hi, Michael Pease, 33 Bonneville Avenue. I wanted to start off by thanking the city council for asking the mayor to request this meeting. I know you've been very active and very involved in the Barry School project. We have a great building committee. They've been working very hard for quite some time now. The chairperson of the building commission is Carissa Lisi, who's with you tonight. She was a building inspector in Westfield. She's now a state building inspector. So I think it's quite an asset to have her on the building commission. We have a principal of the school, Kate Lambert, with us. She's been working very hard on the educational criteria and what's needed in the school in terms of curriculum, activities, resources for the students. Stan Kozakowski, former principal of Chicopee Comp, and he's been on several building commissions. He's also with you tonight. Unable to make it were Dr. Ware, superintendent of schools, Scott Chapdelaine, who's the facilities director for the school department, Michael Sarnelli, who's a builder who's very active in the area on building projects, Doug Gerard, who's the school committee rep, and there are several others. I can't remember their names. Also with us, we have James Fierro, who's with Callow and Beanick and representing them, and they've been doing a great deal of work on design and developing alternatives along with our OPM. So I just want to thank you again for your consideration. Thank you for having the interest in the project and making sure things go smoothly and our students get the best education possible. Thank you.
Is there anyone else for public input on the floor? Is there anyone on Zoom for public input? Is there anyone else Zoom for public input? Seeing none, I'll take a motion.
Motion to close public input.
Motion made and second to close public input. Roll call, please.
President Laflamme,
Yes.
Roy,
Yes.
Ariaga. Ariaga,
Yes.
Brooks,
Yes.
Goff,
Yes.
Crumpets,
Yes.
Chomsky, Labrie,
Yes.
Piniac Costello.
Yes.
9 yes.
Thank you. Okay, on behalf of the city council, Chris, we congratulate you on your new position with the state. Okay, we are now going to go into our presentation from the committee, Barry School Committee to give their presentation. I ask that you just hold your questions to the end, then we can ask questions of the people here this evening. The only thing I request is when someone talks, just say your first name. So when it's being, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Not my pacemaker. Just say your first name when you talk and then you can just talk just for the record for when she has to take the minutes of it. Okay. So I'll turn it over to whoever wants to speak first. Just if you could, make sure you bring the mics close to you. Make sure you see the green light on. Thank you.
Thank you. We're just going to turn it right over to Jim so he can just jump right into the presentation.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm James Fiore. I'm here today on behalf of.
Is your mic on?
There we go.
You-
Thank you.
There, thank you.
Good evening. I'm James Fiore. I'm here today on behalf of Kalo and Beanick Architects and the Building Commission to provide an update on the Anna E. Berry Elementary School study. As a reminder, in the preliminary design program phase, we developed and studied 12 different design alternatives. 4 design alternatives for a new or renovated Berry School at the Garrity Grove site. 4 design alternatives for a Berry School at the Zatella Field site. 1 base repair option for the existing Zatella preschool as a baseline for the MSBA, and 3 design alternatives for a combined Berry and Zatella School at the Zatella Field site. Based on the educational program provided by the school district, a list of key elements was developed by which each design alternative was evaluated. At the end of the PDP phase, 4 design alternatives were selected to be studied in the current phase, which is the preferred schematic report. The design alternative A2 studies an addition and renovation to the existing Berry School. Design alternative A4 studies a new Berry School at the Garrity Grove site. Design alternative B3 studies a new Berry School at Zatella Field. And design alternative D3 studies a combined Berry and Zatella School in a new building on the Zatella Field site. Design alternative D3 is likely to be eliminated due to cost. Its elimination will be considered and discussed at the next building commission meeting. If eliminated, we will pause our efforts on this alternative, but we'll still do cost estimation and it will still be included in the PSR as is, but we won't spend further efforts on it. The goal of the PSR is to arrive at a single design solution, which we will carry forward into the schematic design phase. Design alternative A2 explores an addition renovation to the existing Anna E. Berry Elementary School at the Garrity Grove Park site. Based on our PDP cost estimates, this option currently represents the lowest total project cost, although the costs do not yet include acquisition and development of new parkland to replace approximately 5 acres of parkland that would be lost under this alternative.
Jim, can I just add that it also doesn't factor in the soft costs for any eminent.
We can't hear you. Could you make sure?
I'm sorry.
Closer.
I would also like to add that this final cost doesn't include any additional soft costs with any eminent domain takings that need to happen in the neighborhood with the surrounding houses that we may need to acquire. So there's additional costs that have not yet been explored that we're currently working on that are not included in this cost, on top of the Article 97 costs with the 5 acres that we need to replace. That's all.
Yeah, so we're working on updating those costs. In the pros column for this alternative, this alternative keeps the Berry School in its current location. It fully supports 82% of the key elements. It improves traffic in the neighborhood, keeping all traffic on site during queuing times. Maintaining some of the existing building allows for a reduced carbon footprint. A compact footprint and good solar orientation will help to economize energy usage. And constructing at this site will be an opportunity to address some of the storm and sewer separation issues present. In terms of cons, a major hurdle to this alternative will be the Article 97 action and land swap required. This is workable, but adds time and cost to the project, and also buy-in from the Parks Department and the community. Other city scope costs may include land acquisition, sidewalk improvements, and changes to busing, which will fall outside of the MSBA grant. Another con to this alternative is the gymnasium is undersized and on the second floor. The building will have 2 stories with 3 different levels. There's some phasing challenges as well, which would require lunch to be delivered to the school during the renovation phase. Also, displacement of 4 families is required in order to make construction, parking, and traffic circulation on site feasible. Sharing resources with the community during non-school hours is one way to gain community buy-in and get the most value from a school construction project. Each design option contains a shared community zone with academic, administrative, and service zones that can easily be closed off during a public event. This also serves as a security feature of each design. For design alternative A2, the Family Engagement Center, Media Center, STEAM Lab, cafeteria, and art classroom are all within the first floor public zone. The second floor public zone contains the gymnatorium and music classroom. This is a more detailed look at our development of design alternative A2. I'll note that up until today, the floor plans have shown, the floor plans we've shown have mostly been, just colored blocks, but we're starting to show doors and stairs and more detail on our plans at this point. Each design alternative organizes the academic wings into neighborhoods. Each neighborhood contains 2 grade levels and a shared resource room. Each grade level contains 3 gen ed classrooms, a special ed classroom, extended learning spaces, and 2 small group rooms. Dedicated entrances are provided for the main entrance, pre-K, and the Family Engagement Center. This is design alternative A4, which would see a new 2-story Berry Elementary School constructed on the Garrity Grove Park site. Students would stay at the current Berry School and move into the new school once constructed. At that time, the existing Berry School would be demolished to make way for new park improvements. Design alternative A4 keeps the school at its current location, fully supports 82% of key elements, and improves traffic in the neighborhood by keeping all cars and buses on site during queuing times.
Excuse me a minute. Could we, this is going to be a lot. So what I'd like to do, each phase, we're going to stop if counselors have questions.
Sure,
Because-
let's do that. You want to back up?
One, yes, let's back up to the first one. If any counselors has questions on that one first, and then go to the second one, then ask questions, because it's a lot to take down and say, well, the first one or A4. So does any city councilor on what he discussed on A2 have any questions? Counselor Shumsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do have one question. It came in mind when you went to the second one, but I'll merge it back to this. This is the renovation of the old school, correct?
Partially.
Partially. So
Uh,
it would cost $99 million, almost 100 million, and a new school would cost 104 million. We're talking $4 million more. What is going to cost that much? That it's going to be $99 million to renovate a school.
Okay, if we can, okay, if I may.
Yeah.
Let's keep on the questions of this, and at the end, that would be a good
Okay.
question to explain on all. Maybe you'll get your answers on a second presentation or the third.
Okay.
So if it's anything about this one here particularly, and then make your notes as well as I did on what you're questioning, another one versus you might have that answer. So if there's anything on this one is what I'd like to see so that we all have those answers.
Okay.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah, no, I was just completely bamboozled
I
by that
know
one.
I'm the same, but I want to
Okay.
hear all 4.
Yeah, let's wait. That's fine.
Any other question? Counselor Brooks, if you want to speak, if you could just say, I'd like to speak. I cannot see you because the presentations are on the small TVs too. So just please make note if you need to talk, I won't see your hand. And if there's any other city counselors on Zoom, please identify yourself because I cannot see you on Zoom at all. So is there any other counselors? Counselor Roy?
Yeah, help me out here. I thought alternative one and alternative two, our problem was wetlands or conservation area that we couldn't build on.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I thought alternative one and alternative two, we have to stay away from the wetlands, correct?
Correct.
So what changes now that conspired before?
We're staying outside of the 50-foot buffer zone from the wetlands in both design alternative A2 and design alternative A4. If you look on the plan, the site plan here, that area that says Garrity Grove Park,
Do you have a
and
pointer?
there's sort of
Is that a pointer?
a border of trees, that's right around the 50 feet from the wetland buffer. Basically, if we construct the new building where the current park amenities are, they're up higher, at a higher elevation outside of the wetlands. That's really the only place that we can build a new school or renovation due to the wetlands.
So either case, we cannot build a completely new school. Part of it has to be renovated, correct?
No.
No.
So it's actually very hard to save much of this building at all due to accessibility issues. One of the alternatives we studied was a base repair of the building, which would bring it up to current energy codes and accessibility codes. To bring it up to full accessibility, that requires at least 2 elevators. The building has 2 floors, but there's 5 different elevation changes, 6 if you count the boiler room. Another challenge with the existing building is the very low floor to ceiling heights, floor to floor heights. In most of the building, it's 10 feet floor to floor, which makes modern HVAC systems very difficult. So in design alternative A2, most of what we're keeping is the area with the cafeteria and the gymnasium. We're also keeping a small portion of the academic and administration area. And we're making that sort of the service wing on the first floor, and there's some special education services on the second floor. Now I forgot what your original question was. I'm sorry.
Can I jump in? Because
Yeah.
I think I kind of know where you're going, Counselor Roy. So originally our plan was to look at the entirety of Garrity Grove to build this building. But when we found that there was all this wetlands in the corner, it pushed us way over onto Peter Street, which then encompassed these 4 houses that we are then going to have to take by eminent domain. Right. So that was one problem with the Garrity Grove site, because I'm sure you're getting to the point, like, why are we even looking somewhere else? Right. And so one of the problems was all that wetland kind of pushed us over to Peter Street. The other problem is that we have to go through the Article 97 before we can even start here and swap out some of that land, which is going to cost the city money to swap out the land to begin with. But also we have to go to the state legislature to get approval to be able to do that. And so we didn't want to lose our MSBA spot in line or any of our funding by taking too long by doing that part. So the MSBA required us to look at some other alternatives. You'll remember that James mentioned there were actually 12 alternatives listed, and we narrowed it down to this many. Councilor Shumsky, you had mentioned, like, why did we even look at this? It's a requirement for the MSBA to do a full base repair and show what that would be, and then do an addition reno, I believe, right?
Correct. Both are required. Yeah, the base repair is sort of a baseline that the MSBA requires.
Did that answer your
Okay.
question?
Thank you.
Abigail?
My question would be too, so this would be renovating the old building. How does this affect the students too? Are they going to be in the building during this entire thing? Are they going to another building? Because this isn't going to be done in a summer vacation. So I was just more wondering too, just like how is it going to affect these students if we go with this?
It would be done in phases. So what they would do is, the areas of the school that are being renovated would obviously be segregated from the students. The students would then occupy the other portion of the building, and we may need to bring in modular classrooms that would be on site, to have the students there. And then they would begin construction on the addition, and they would move into the addition and then renovate the area that they were currently in the current school.
Thank you.
So that's considered part of the phasing.
Yeah, so that would be part of the phasing. If we did a brand new building, the students would stay in the current building while construction was going on behind the existing building. The students would then move into the completed building, and then we would demolish the existing school.
Thank you.
Counselor Sumsky's out. Counselor LaBrie will be next.
Yes, at this map, does this map show where the traffic is gonna drop off? Does that the line on the outside of the, outdoor play, outdoor learning play?
Does this have a laser on it?
Sorry, mic's not on.
That,
So.
I don't want to turn it off by accident.
Is that road, is that gonna be where you're gonna drop off the kids and pick
So
up?
the blue line represents the border of the new Garrity Grove Park, sort of the separation between the Parks Department's responsibilities and the school department's responsibility. Traffic would enter from Mercedes Street, off Montgomery, and continue down past where you see that it says recreational field.
Yep.
So for pickup and drop off, the parents are going to continue to the west side of the building and all the way down to about where you see it, where it says outdoor learning. That's the drop off zone. Buses continue straight down from Mercedes Street and line up along the east side of the building in order to separate traffic. We would then want everyone to exit on LaGuardia and out to Montgomery Street. We believe that's probably the best route. If we do a traffic study of this site, that'll, we'll get some more information at that time. Currently, we're just studying the Zatella site for traffic. But this plan does show that we can get 100 cars, all the buses and vans on the site and keep all queuing traffic on site. So we're not backing up, there's not cars in front of people's driveways and stuff.
Okay, because right now Laurel Street is not shown, and that's where our traffic problems are.
Okay.
Kids getting dropped off and picked up on Laurel Street, and I want to make sure maybe there can be a fence where that boundary is, or something, but I don't see them stopping at those drop off points. If you're not going to make people go into Mercedes, and for some people that's quite a ways around. You're going to go on Montgomery Street, which is probably a half mile around that whole block. So, that's my concern. It's always a concern. Everybody calls, they park in front of their houses on Hawley Street. Is a big concern. I'm sure the principal, knows all too well about all of those.
I do. I will tell you, we've had lots of discussions about what traffic looks like, to the point where we had clickers outside counting like how many cars are coming in and how many cars are picking up kids, so that we could get that number that he was saying 100.
Yeah.
If you look at this map though, there's a street that you might think is Peter Street. So it's Montgomery, and then the next gray one, that's actually Peter, but none of the traffic is going to be on Peter. And then so I just wanted to make a point that like that side is not Peter Street that all of those buses are lining up on. Right now, We line up cars through Holly Street, through Laurel Street, over by Arnold's. We like line them all the way up, and they are queuing all the way down Holly Street for at least 15 minutes, and they're blocking an area.
Yeah.
And so that's, I mean, what I'm sure you're referring to. But in this option, you're saying that they might park in the neighborhoods?
Well, I think they're gonna be picking up their kids, you know, on Holly and Brightwood, you know, the people on that side of, you know, going towards Grattan Street rather than Montgomery Street. I don't know if you can make people go into a certain area.
Sure.
Because, you know, there's no parking signs there now,
Mhm.
but they're not enforced. I sat there with the police officer one day, or a few days, actually, at a number of schools, and he's not gonna give a ticket to somebody sitting in the car waiting.
Sure.
You know, so now we're putting up no parking, no standing,
Yeah.
you know, so some cop may give a ticket, but, you know,
Yeah.
enforcement stuff.
I think a lot of that though is that we don't have any space in our current parking lot for any cars to be. And so at dismissal and pickup time, there's no other place for them to go except in the neighborhood.
Right.
And that's one reason we need a new Barry, right? Like if you've ever tried to visit Barry during the day, or if you had to go vote there, like there's really no parking.
I was there for 8 hours the other day, you know, watching the buses coming in and out,
Yeah,
and with the
it's a
voters
little
there at the
chaotic.
same time, so.
And so I think what we had talked about doing was what's called a rolling pickup. We already have a rolling drop off,
Yeah.
which means parents stay in their cars. They don't even have to get out of their car. For drop off, it works okay, but we're taking up Holly Street. So in the future, we talked about having them come in, they would drive in, and basically we would open the door, the kid would hop out, go to school. And then for pickup, they would have a sign in their window. They would come in up the top. We would walkie to the cafeteria, such and such kid is ready, and then they would go right out.
So they could go through Holly Street with this design? Because right now.
They
there's-
would not go through Holly Street as a car. I'm assuming they could walk in to pick up their child if they were gonna walk.
That's one of the
That's the-
streets that they complain the most on about people blocking their driveways is Holly Street.
This design would not let them have access to the school in that area. It looks like they would have access to the playground that would be there.
Yeah, there's a few parking spaces there for park amenities that we're proposing in this plan.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? I got two questions, and one is gonna tailgate on Counselor LeBrie. Going back to the parking, I have concerns about it. I brought up at the last meeting. And I really want to understand Hawley Street and Brightwood Street and what's it, Hayworth? Hawthorne.
Hawthorne.
So Hawley Street right now is still gonna be used as a walk-through. Is that what we're saying? Hawley, okay, here's you can tell me till you're blue in the face that they're just gonna drop off. Even with them sitting in their car, they don't care. They sit in their car and they wait for their kids to come out. And as Gary said, someone made a presentation, house caught on fire, the fire department couldn't get there. We had ambulances that couldn't get down there. And that people I got plenty of pictures I'll send you. Is that because those people are really complaining. And one of the things I asked on all these plans, whatever, there should be some way that they go inside the property, drop off and pull back out. They should not be putting any of those streets or the other streets at danger for, picking up my kids. Well, I'm sorry. Today, people just don't follow. A comment was made at that meeting. Oh, we'll put up signs that says, you know, you will be towed. Well, guess what? They've been up for 1 year to 2 years and nobody can do it. The police officers can't be there every day. And you know what? I want to save one life if I can. We need to solve that problem on those streets because if it's going to be you mentioned, are you the principal? I forgot.
I am,
Okay.
yeah.
You mentioned that they're going to be able to drop off, sit in their car and we'll get them. But they're going to be on those main roads.
No.
No, you
Okay,
can
so-
see.
So I
on
want to
the-
understand.
Yeah.
You can see on the plan that there's
Show
a
what you
loop
had an
route
indicator.
to
Okay.
that follows the dash line. You see, there's a road that goes behind the school
The black
where
line
the-
dots.
Yeah.
where
So-
the cars are going to be lined up to pick up.
Okay.
So pickup is going to be directed from Mercedes Street down the street where it says tennis, pickleball, and
Mhm.
between recreational fields. And then they're going to take that right behind the school. And that's where the parents are going to line up to pick up the children. And then the buses are going to line up front.
Okay.
And
So-
that design fits 100 cars. We had 67
When you
2
say
days.
100 cars, is that the parking spaces of the 136 you're counting plus?
No,
No,
the
just the road.
Okay.
road,
thank you.
yeah. Plus, there will be a parking lot
Okay.
that fits way more part pieces, way more cars.
And
then-
we'll continue to refine this as well, as our civil and landscape consultants get more involved in future phases.
Right. Because I know you did the traffic study. A traffic study is something totally different than people parking all the time. You can count cars, but if they're in that parking space, they're counted, but it doesn't tell you that it's so narrow that they can't get by. So that's very important. The second, and my final question is, you mentioned about the, what was it, 99 million for this first project? 99 million. That does not include taking 4 houses, 3 on the side and 1 towards the back.
I think it does include those properties.
In,
no?
well, that's not what
Okay.
she said.
Cost of
Okay.
additional parcels is,
As
so
addition.
I don't know if
It,
it's
it
included.
definitely does not include the replacement land for the approximate 5 acres the school property would take.
Okay, okay, you can say it that way, but it's still saying you're taking the houses.
Yes, there are 4 houses that would be taken under this option and also A4 as well.
Right.
And 4 families would be displaced.
So you're talking $199 million plus, I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but you take every house, we'll take $400,000 per house. So that's for a 12, 16, another 20, how much is that more? I just want to know roughly, because you're putting that, we got to take this, we're going to be doing this. What? this
Correct.
is not
And we
a-
don't have those numbers.
I know,
just
but
yet.
a rough idea, you're taking 4 houses, 5 houses.
4.
I'm sorry, 4 houses, so 400, it would say 400,000, 816, $2 million more, just to say, for this place. I just want to understand until before we get to the next one, to the other one where we may not be doing all this. When you look at that 99, that somebody said 99, then 100, and what the other one is, I didn't see it yet. There's another $4 million this already. So roughly, I'm just giving rough figures until you make an agreement with these folks to have them moved out of those properties. And I got a final question. Are you taking it by eminent domain where they would have to, if we approve this, they would have to move? It would be eminent domain you're taking them.
Yes, I
Yes.
believe so.
You believe on all this. Okay. All right.
And,
I'm
and those
okay.
costs aren't represented, one, because we don't have an estimated cost just yet. And 2, we wanted to keep the cost that's reimbursable by the MSBA separate. So you know what that cost is and what the MSBA is going to reimburse, and then what the additional costs are going to be that need to be absorbed by the city.
Well, and that's what I'm concerned, what it's being absorbed by the city.
Right. We're
So-
still working behind the scenes on that.
Right,
with
so just listening, you could put some figures together, ballpark, not holding anybody to the amount of money. It's a ballpark figure that you're gonna be taking 4 houses on this particular one. And that's all I wanted to see. So
Plus 5 acres.
plus 5 acres.
So
that we
that's
have to
separate.
double somewhere else.
Correct.
And do we have that idea where that's gonna be at? No.
So we are studying, we've asked the planning department to take a look at a parcel, 0 Thaddeus, that the city of Chicopee owns. The difficulty is, the planning department has told us that, if they're going to use it for parkland, it needs to be accessible. So it would need to be able to be developed into accessible paths, meaning handicap accessible. Another challenge is if the Parks Department is, interested and able to take on the maintenance of another site as well. So that's another piece of this where we would have to look at.
So is this part right behind Arnold's Meat in that area?
Hero Thaddeus, yes, that parcel would be.
Okay, I
behind
know where it is.
Warren's.
I'm just curious where it was. Before I go to Counselor Costello, I just want to make a knowledge that Sandra Pratt for liaison for the school committee is here tonight. Counselor Costello.
Thank you for those excellent questions, Counselor Laflamme. To follow up on what Counselor Laflamme is questioning for the final figure, you're also talking about the city's going to have to provide, according to this, some sort of highway adjustment. Has that been talked about in regards to the final cost of this project? Because it talks about something about under cons, it talks about sidewalks.
Oh,
Is that going to be additional? Will that be an additional cost?
those are costs that we don't have a handle on yet as well. So we need to look at, students walking to school, and if there's improvements such as sidewalks required, changes to buses. I would think that the Garrity Grove site would be least impactful in that respect because the school is remaining in the same location. But yes, there are potential soft costs to the city, that might have to do with roads and sidewalks.
Yes, because it indicates also, you're talking about the possibility of any infrastructure that would have to be done, like crosswalks and crosswalk signage.
Correct.
And then the additional costs down the road in regards to hiring crossing guards. So this has got to be very safe. Just as a follow-up to Councilors Laflamme's question in regards to the taking of the 4 houses, eminent domain, and now the soft costs, as you referred to, in regards to what the city's going to have to do to make this safe. So there's a lot of additional costs here other than the 99.709 figure. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yes, and I think that's the case with all of the options.
But we really don't have that right now.
Yes, right now at this point in time, unfortunately, we don't have these numbers. The point of this meeting tonight was to present these options that we've been presented with as a committee, to be transparent, to keep you guys in the loop, to get your input as we gather more information to make our decision for the recommendation on what project we would recommend as a committee to move forward. We wanted to present these options to you so that you know what we're looking at in making these decisions. So I know a lot of cost figures are unanswered right now, but because of the planning stage that we're currently in, we don't have final numbers. It's kind of hard to get these numbers until we actually make a final decision. We will be basing it on rough ideas and rough numbers. And then once we make a final decision and a final recommendation, that's when we can start getting more harder numbers.
That's great, because I do see a member of the the Disability Commission here. And any issues with disability and accommodations will also have to be figured into the costs.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, so just an FYI, I know you're here to do this presentation, but when we look at the 99, people are going to be asking us as why we're out in the street. I'm sorry that we're asking, we have to ask some questions. We're not holding it to you, but we're not going to say, yeah, the first one, it's about right 99. Oh, by the way, at least if we have some idea, we can say there's additional, because you don't want to be surprised and say, well, we will listen to that A2 and we thought it was 99. We have public listening to this, and I want to make sure that we always throw some other stuff and you're giving the right answers, and we're not trying to trick you or nothing or hold you to a price, but at least we have some figures to get an idea. Okay. Okay. So we'll move on to A4. Is that the next one?
That's the next one.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Design alternative A4 would see a new two-story Berry Elementary School constructed on the Garrity Grove Park site. Students would stay at the current Berry School and move into the new school once constructed. At that time, the existing Berry School would be demolished to make way for new park improvements. Design alternative A4 keeps the school at its current location, fully supports 82% of key elements, and improves traffic in the neighborhood by keeping all cars and buses on site during queuing times. Eligible costs for the existing Berry demolition will be reimbursable through the MSBA grant. The design offers a compact footprint with optimal solar orientation to reduce energy usage. This alternative also provides an opportunity to improve storm and sewer separation issues that are present on site. In terms of cons, design alternative A4 also requires an Article 97 action. There is potential scope that will not be covered under the MSBA grant, such as sidewalks and other neighborhood improvements to improve accessibility to the site. And again, 4 residential properties are required to be taken, which will displace 4 families. In design alternative A4, we were able to keep the majority of the shared resources on the first floor. This includes the Family Engagement Center, Media Center, Gymnatorium, Cafetorium, Art and Music classrooms. STEAM is on the second floor, located closest to the older grades who will utilize this program the most. Similar to A2, classrooms are arranged into neighborhoods where resources can be shared with another grade level. Dedicated entrances are provided for the main office, Family Engagement Center, nurse, and pre-K. That's it for A4.
Okay, A4. Any questions on A4? Counselor Roy first.
So some work that would be that may be outside of the limit of work of the project, such as sidewalk improvements that don't fall within the property boundaries, may not be eligible for reimbursement through the MSBA. Things like land acquisition, I don't believe are reimbursable.
It would be the same as the previous option. The same costs that weren't reimbursable by the MSBA would not be reimbursable with this option either. So say we decided, or the city decided that we wanted to redo sidewalks on Garrity or Connell or Holly Street, leading up to improve accessibility for the students walking. Those would be additional costs incurred by the city that would not be reimbursed by the MSBA.
Counselor Bree.
Yes, right where the tennis, pickleball, and basketball courts are, would those be available to the public when the school's closed?
Yeah, that's all parkland. We're proposing that there would be some parking there for off of Holly Street. It could be connected to Connell. It depends on the final design, what the community wants. But yeah, that's all, everything in that blue dash border, that would all be the park and would be open to the public. And we'd have to consider, fencing and how we want to separate the school as we get into the design.
Because we do have a park where they're complaining about the basketball courts, the noise. People at night, they're playing basketball at night and their pickleball is noisy during the day, and having them right on top of those houses, you know, you'd have to have a, you know, some kind of, you know, sound barrier.
Okay.
Just because that everywhere you
Yeah.
go and people are playing pickleball now, you know, pickleball is normally, they try to get it away from the neighborhoods because people are complaining, they hear that whack, whack, whack all day long and into the evening. So, and the basketball obviously is noisy. So, you know, the Holly Street people and they would kind of complain. I'm just, you know, I hate to say, you know, complain or whatever, but they'd have concerns.
Yeah.
So-
No, that's a concern I hadn't considered. Um, so given the location, where the new school is, where the existing school is, and the wetlands, that footprint where the existing school is really the only place on site that we can recreate the amenities that exist. What the final new amenities are is, you know, really up to the city. Right now, we're including costs for tennis and basketball, spray park, and a playground because that's what's there. We assume you would want to replace what's present. And somebody had mentioned pickleball is more popular than tennis, so we included that as well. But there's really nowhere else on site to put those amenities. Maybe, but to your point, maybe swapping the noisier activities with the recreational field might help, and you know, we can dig into that if this design option is selected.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there because we have a problem in Fairview, Fairview Park. The neighbors, the residents there are complaining about, you know, the noise and, you know, they actually want the basketball courts taken down. So it's just not a good mix because they play till they put their car lights on even and they play till 10 o'clock and the neighbors don't like that.
Counselor Shumsky.
Yes, I just want to go back to my last question. Why is this going to cost $4 million more when the last one cost 99 million? I mean, it just seems ridiculous that we would even be considering a redesigned school if a new school that's going to be state of the art in every capacity is going to cost $4 million more, maybe a little over.
Yeah,
Yeah, I get that's part of MSBA guidelines, but I mean, it seems like to me like a no-brainer. I mean, $4 million more, we get a state-of-the-art new school. And this is only A4. I'm curious to see what the other proposals have to say, but it just seems more practical to do this than it would be to renovate an entire school in phases. I mean, we still have to look at the aspects like Councilor Arriaga said, and you know, she beat me to the question. I was actually going to ask about where are we going to put all these students and the staff and the admin. I mean, it's a logistical nightmare, but I think that I'm interested in hearing more about it. So, yeah, that was my question, and I don't know if you guys have any answers for that.
Did you want to say
I
something?
can- So, as being in the construction trade, I can tell you that ad renos are typically more expensive because it's a lot more difficult to bring up an existing building to code and energy code than it is to build something brand new.
Okay.
So that's where a lot of your cost comes in for an ad reno.
Okay.
It's just not an easy task to do. Therefore, it does drive up the cost significantly as if you were to do new construction.
Okay. Thank you.
Counselor Costello.
Thank you. In regards to that learning area that you were talking about, actually, I want to recognize a person who's here from the Disability Commission, Mr. Kulik. And he's the one that asked the question as I was walking by. Is that learning, and I appreciate his input and his presence at this meeting, is that area going to be ADA compliant in regards to that learning area that you just spoke about?
I'm not sure which learning area you're talking about, but the entire project would be accessible. that's just code, and that's how we design.
So,
Regardless of what project is picked, whether it's this one, the previous one, or the next one, it all has to meet the ADA requirements, the Massachusetts State Building Code.
okay, that's good because we want to make sure that that issue is addressed.
There's no way around it.
Okay, because in the past, the reality is not all of it was in the past. I'm
Correct.
glad that in particular, this project, you're using that standard and you're in compliance.
We have to,
Okay.
by
thank
law.
you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thanks.
Yeah, and it's very important to Kayla and Beanick that we make sure we're adhering to the MAAB and the ADA in all our projects.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that's it. I got a couple of questions real quick, and you might have said them already, but so as I'm gonna tag on to Councilor Bree again. You mentioned just a little while ago, the pickleball, the basketball, and you said, well, they'll use Hawley Street. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think 8 houses, 7 or 8 houses on that street. Some of them put their cars in a row with their second car. And basketball, pickleball, what is it gonna be, about 25 cars coming? 20 cars? Where are you gonna put those cars, on Hawley Street or Laurel Street? Where is the block off in why are they not using the 55 spaces at night to go to that pickleball? Why are we gonna be thinking about using Hawley Street? It doesn't make sense to, how would you like to live there? That's my question. Those people, go there at night right now, see how many cars are there, the people that live there. You got a 55 parking space right there that's not being used at night. Why can't that, just something to think about. Think of the neighbors. It's really important because add up those houses and basketball, go count how many are at Zot Park when they come in to play basketball. You filled up their street. Gonna go on to Laurel Street now. Now they're gonna start parking on Laurel Street and the rest of them where it says do not park, there's signs. So my curious is, I don't see where they can go to 55 parking, come that way and go in there to the pickleball, because they'll have a walkway, but why are we allowing it to be there at night? You plan, because you mentioned something about a fence or a gate. You mentioned earlier about you said something about a gate.
So I can't remember what the question was, but sometimes we want to separate the school from the public using a park. Sometimes that's of interest for security reasons. So
well, maybe that's what you should look at.
Yeah.
Security for that part of it. So you're gonna say, well, we want to keep them separate. Well, they're all taxpayers. We're all taxpayers of the schools that the people are paying for, and they're also paying for their homes. So they should have the comfort of their living space too. It's not just saying, we should come up with a way to have security be able to do that. We should not have them on those streets, because it's gonna be a big problem. It's gonna be a big problem, because what I will do, I'll make sure there's no parking signs on that street. I'll tell you right now, those people need to live their lives too. And I don't know nobody on that street, but I've seen people complain. I've been there, Gary's been there, and go there every day and see what you see. Starting tomorrow, I'll meet you there. See how those people are living now, how they are, and they're not all on that street. We need to, this is the opportunity to solve the problems for that neighborhood.
Absolutely.
So please just keep that in mind. I know I'm at it, but I'll show you a picture from 2 years ago, a year ago. Councilor Roy lives right there. He sees it all the time. It's something we should be solving it. There should be a way to solve it. I'm sorry. So we need to think about it. I get where security in that, maybe have more cameras, maybe have a fence that allows one, I don't know. But please, it's schools, it's part of the city of Chicopee, and the taxpayers are part of both of them when we think of it. And they're the one who's paying for that school and those people to go there. Thank you. And again, it's only ideas. This is the time you're looking at your phases. So we just want to throw some stuff out there we see every day, all us counselors. And it's very important to that, because they'll be upset with the city council and the city itself. Well, why didn't you take care of it? Why didn't that ambulance come down my street? Why couldn't that fire truck come down? Because we get a lot of that calls. We could not, and you've seen it at that meeting. That lady was very about her mom and that remember the fire was at the house, they couldn't get there on Laurel Street in the corner. That's important. That means a lot. We should be solving it. And I'm gonna keep drilling this one in for that little corner right there, Holly Street, and that's Columba. All right, so we all set? Any other questions? Let's move on to, what is it?
It's B3.
Oh, B3.
So design alternative B3 would see a new Berry Elementary School constructed on the site of the Zatella Early Childhood Center. Students at both schools would remain in place during construction. The Berry students would move to the new site when the new building is complete, and Zatella would continue to remain in place with significant site upgrades to improve traffic and parking. Constructing at the Zatella site avoids the Article 97 land swap. It would remove all traffic from Masick Drive. Am I pronouncing that right? Okay. Design alternative B3 fully supports 88% of key elements, maximizes outdoor programming around the school, and minimizes phasing. This option is an opportunity to address traffic issues on Granby Road. In this site plan, we are showing a rotary is possible, but we do not yet know what the proposed traffic solution will be. Our traffic engineers are currently studying this and working on some solution options. This design alternative keeps all traffic from both of the schools on site during pickup and drop-off times. It is an opportunity to address storm and sewer separation issues, particularly at the Zatella School and Masick Drive. The building design provides a compact footprint with optimal solar orientation for reduced energy usage. Although one property would be taken, there is no house on that property currently, 562 Granby Road, so no families would be displaced. In terms of cons, there is some neighborhood opposition to a new school at this site. Although we feel the concerns raised can possibly be addressed and even improve the neighborhood. One concern is Granby Road traffic, which our consultants are currently studying. Land acquisition of 562 Granby Road, sidewalk improvements, busing changes, and traffic solutions at the new entrance driveway are all potential costs that may not be covered by the MSBA grant. The cost to demolish the existing Berry School would not be covered under the MSBA grant if a new Berry School is constructed at the Zatella site. In design alternative B3, all of the shared community resources would be located on the first floor. Clustered grade level neighborhoods are arranged similarly to design options A2 and A4. Dedicated entrances to the main office, nurse, family center, and pre-K are provided. And that's it for B3.
Counselor, you're done?
Thanks.
Counselor Costello.
Thank you. You indicate that you're going to address the Granby Road traffic. Granby Road has a lot of traffic. They have a lot of cars and they have a lot of 18-wheelers that use that as a truck route that go from roughly downtown Chicopee up Granby Road into the Westover Industrial Park. There have been fatalities on Granby Road. This is a heavy travel street, lot of speeding. There's been neighborhood concerns in regards to this particular development, making this traffic pattern they have on Granby Road even more difficult. And that's a legitimate concern.
Absolutely.
Street safety and pedestrian safety are a concern. You did indicate as a con is Granby Road traffic concerns. That's a real concern,
Yes.
because if you ever try to walk across Granby Road, it's not an easy thing to do. And they don't have a lot of crosswalks there. So how is in putting a school here on near another school going to make that traffic congestion, that traffic flow that includes trucks? How is that going to make it better? Or do you know that? Or do we need a traffic study to really indicate where we have to move from here?
So the traffic study is happening. That was approved by the building commission. I believe they've done their field work at this point. I do not yet have a report. Included in the traffic study will be a couple potential solutions. On our plan, we're showing a rotary, but we're not traffic engineers. We don't know, how that's going to work exactly until the study is completed. But the thing we like about rotaries is it forces everybody to slow down. And we won't know until the traffic study is done, but we think that could potentially alleviate some of the concerns.
What are you talking about? Where's the rotary going to go?
So as part of this option, we would acquire, the city would take 562 Granby Road, which is a property that has had, the home on that property has been demolished, so there's no one currently living there. It's a long property north of Masick Drive. It's on the east side of this site. And we're proposing whatever the traffic solution is, that entry to this site will no longer be via Masick Drive. It will be from the site that's currently at 562 Granby Road. We can fit a rotary in that location, just from, architects putting a circle on the plan. But our traffic engineers will study that much more thoroughly.
So when you're talking about Masick Drive, you're talking about you're not going to use that. You're going to use a new road to accommodate the traffic into both schools?
Correct. We're proposing a one-way loop
Way?
through the site.
Yep.
You'd enter and, so the cars are entering on the north side of the site and looping around. Buses are separated from the cars, and we can fit over 200 cars on here, and all the buses, vans, minibuses, and get all the traffic off of Granby Road. Over the last couple of weeks, we studied this to make sure we can get all the vehicles on the site, and our traffic engineers will study that further.
Okay, so there's further study going into regards to traffic
Yes.
on this particular issue. So that's pending. Will the opening and closing of the schools happen at the same time? Would Satella School and Berry School, if this site is chosen, have an opening time of 8:30 to 2:30, both of them.
Currently, they're not staggered. Well, you can speak to this more.
Yeah, I don't think that there's a plan currently to change that timing, although I know it's something that the school department and school committee are looking at as far as transportation goes in general. But as of right now, it will remain the 8:30 and 2:38, with both buildings also having a midday drop off and pickup because there will be pre-K at both those buildings. So potentially there would be 4 times that we would see traffic through this area.
So right now, you're just looking at that, whether or not they would be open and closing their school day at the same time, or whether or not one would have to change to another.
Yeah, and honestly, we addressed that a little bit at the elementary school already. So our kindergartners, they get out 5 minutes before the rest of the kids do, just so that there's less chaos of dismissal and making sure kids get to their families. So I imagine that we would do something similar.
Well, that's a good idea
Okay.
because the elementary school is difficult in regards to the little children are difficult in regards, as you pointed out with the kindergartners, for the drop off and the pickup. But the traffic at Satella with smaller children, 3 and 4 years old, has always been an issue. So now we're adding another school with older children. Has there been any discussion? Well, can I just ask another question or, well,
As long
I
as you
can,
stay on the topic of the buildings and not the,
well, this is
you're
part of
fine.
the
You're-
plan. Yeah.
It's
thank you.
about the traffic.
Yeah. In regards to, how are children, 5 years old going to cross Granby Road? Has anybody looked into that as part of this, plan?
So I will tell you that as an elementary principal, all kids under the age of under 3rd grade need to be dismissed to a grown-up. So no kid will be crossing the street by themselves. 4th and 5th graders, if they have parents' permission, we do dismiss them on their own. I will tell you right now, I have kids that cross Grattan Street. I have kids that cross Montgomery. I'd like to say that they use the crosswalks appropriately. We try as best as we can, but they do that. But for the most part, most of our kids are dismissed to a grown-up. Right now, they get out of their cars, they park in the neighborhoods, they get out of their cars, they come to the school, they wait at the door, they pick up their kid, which then makes that whole Holly Street thing even more chaotic, right? Because now they have to go pick up their kid. We're proposing in this option and in the other options, a drive-through pickup procedure, which a lot of elementary schools use. We just are unable to do it right now due to our tiny parking lot. I imagine that if we did put something in place like that, Zatello would follow and we would work together to create some type of traffic pattern where they're picking up their kids at the same time too.
Thank you.
Okay, Counselor,
President Flam?
Thank you. So I just want to backtrack a little bit on something we just touched upon, which is the traffic study. How many,
put the mic closer.
oh, how many days was that traffic study that you guys authorized?
We authorize the study. The engineers are the ones that do the study. So they are the ones that gather the information. I'm not sure what the time frame is typically for a typical traffic study. But they gather the information. We just authorize them to do the traffic study at this location right now.
Okay, so I have a few more questions, one of which is kind of correlates back to the previous two A4 and A3, and this one and future ones that we discussed with plans. Water and sewer upgrades, I imagine that we're going to have to do those. Are those covered by MSBA, or is that going to be coming at the cost of the city?
That would be a cost to the city. The MSBA only covers the construction costs of the school itself and the demolition of the existing school at Garrity Grove if we were to utilize the Garrity Grove site. So if we utilize the Zatella site, MSBA will not reimburse the demolition cost at Garrity Grove of the Berry School.
Okay, and my next question is, I see that there's optimal solar orientation and that there is also neighborhood opposition. Is there a way that we could put solar panels on the school that generate enough power where we could potentially and again, hypothetically, I don't know if this is even possible, give a discounted rate or a rebate of sorts to residents and abutters around there so they have an incentive for the new school if we do this proposal. I don't know if that's something that we've looked into or you guys have looked into. I don't even know if it can be done. It was just an idea that came to my head. I mean, I think I believe Eversource.
It's not something we've considered. Solar power is always something we would put on the table, but not generally to generate power beyond the building's usage.
In
But
looking
it's an interesting idea.
in looking at the site, I don't think that there would be enough solar that could be installed to generate enough to give anything back. I don't even think that there would be enough to generate
If we put it in the
to
parking lot?
sustain the building itself, because the way that the codes are written now and the energy codes, everything or a lot has to be electric now. We're kind of getting away from natural gas and going more electric. So even putting solar, I don't even think that the solar would generate enough to sustain the school itself.
So that's including if you put it on the parking lot, the other Satella building, and the other parking lot for the Satella school.
Yes, and it really honestly wouldn't be very aesthetically pleasing.
The other piece, Counselor Shumsky, that you're referencing, the optimal solar orientation, I think has more to do with the way that the building is situated to make sure that the classrooms aren't overheating or staying too cold. If you've ever been at Barry and been on the side of the building that's close to the parking lot in the afternoon, it is hot. I mean, teachers are like begging to have the classrooms that are facing the field,
Yeah.
right? So I think, and James, you can correct me, but I think it had a lot to do with that, like the solar design of the building.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, that was an idea that came to my head, so I figured I'd ask. Is there gonna be another design alternative after this? Or is this the last one?
No, I don't have slides for D3 tonight.
Well, is there a way that, I don't know if you guys would have a cost factor of how much more that would cost? I would have been curious myself to see what it would have cost to build one major complex because, I mean, we're talking about in another 5, 10 years, another school is gonna have to be remodeled.
In the
And-
PDP phase, it was 136 million, I believe.
Okay. So the reason I asked that question is, and I think maybe Kate could answer this for me, or someone maybe in the future. We look at transportation costs, and they've gone up increasingly every year. I just found some numbers, and I don't know how accurate they are, but I would like to find out more information on this. In fiscal year 19, it was 3.8 million. Fiscal year 24, 6.1 million. Fiscal year 25, 7.3 million. And in fiscal 26, 12.6 million. I don't know if there's a way that we could begin talks of redistricting so we could have potentially saving millions of dollars every year. I don't know if that's even possible. But if we're looking at building a complex or a new school, we're going to put a school behind one that's already there so we can have similar grades in one building, similar grades in another. Barry School right now, okay, again, hypothetically, we get rid of that. That goes away. We build it here, hypothetically. We get rid of Zatella, that's another building gone. One big complex where we could potentially merge Belcher School where it is now, put it where Zatella is and where the potential new school would be, which frees up a building, which we could potentially put school administrative offices, central office in that building, so we're not having to pay all the lease fees and all of that other stuff. That could be a potential cost saver. So I would be curious to see the other plan. I just think that, we saw 3 great options, and I'd be curious to see a fourth. I understand that it would cost more, but if we look at options like redistricting and how much we would save in the long run with that, and also with central office, if we were able to save costs for that, would it equate to enough where it's say like, okay, well, yeah, it may cost $20-30 million more now, but how much is it going to save taxpayers in the future? Because I think a new school is only going to go up. I don't know when the last new school we built was. It was probably Chicopee Comp. I don't know how much that school cost. And that probably cost a lot of money, but I think it's probably doubled in cost from where we are now. I would have to imagine. So in another 10 years when we're looking, well, guys, and meaning the taxpayers, we have to build a new school. It's going to be maybe 200,000. Who knows what inflation's going to do and who knows how the economy is going to grow. an impossible question to ask. But I think if we were to start looking long-term, it may be beneficial for us to see that. So
So I'll try to get all of your questions.
I know it was
in.
a lot. I can
Okay,
let go
do you
down.
mind if I take this one?
Yep.
Okay. So first, I think your idea of redistricting has value, but I think we are way too far into this process with MSBA to do that for this project. You have a lot of other elementary schools in the district that are likely going to come up and need to be repaired. And so thinking about redistricting at that point would be beneficial. Right now, in order to get to this point, we had to submit a lot of enrollment documentation. They did a lot of research about like what is the projected enrollment can be, how many classrooms will MSBA allow us to have, and gave us all of that information. Even when we just looked at trying to add Zatella, it created a little kink in our plan that we had to adjust, right? Which we did. But the bigger problem, and this is where all of you, I think, will appreciate this, is that even right now, the way that it sits, the MSBA will not reimburse us for anything for pre-K. Zatella is a standalone pre-K. So that 30 million that would be extra, the 134, I think it was, we did have a number. Dan, I don't know if you have that number.
36.
It was 136 million to combine both Berry and Zatella. Okay, but that 36 or the 32 extra million is for a pre-K building that the city would have to absorb. The MSBA is not going to pay for any of that because it's pre-K, right? So then that becomes kind of an issue. To address the transportation piece, the district is working on that. For example, many elementary schools are now having our own pre-Ks. This building is being built with its own pre-K. So as you start building more buildings, eventually, or adding pre-Ks to buildings, I'm wondering if our standalone pre-K will not need to be there, right? Like I see what you're saying long-term, but I think we've kind of looked at all of that with this project. I don't think it's doable for this project. I also think right now, it's a big burden to ask the taxpayers to pay $30 million extra for a pre-K that's not going to be reimbursed.
Oh, I
if that makes
100%
sense.
agree. It was an idea that came to my head, and I figured I'd ask now because you never know when the opportunity comes next.
When the opportunity comes next, I recommend that you volunteer to be on the building commission and voice that
Okay.
concern.
Well, can I ask one more question though? You mentioned something about redistricting and why it will come up next time. Why wasn't it looked at this time? I don't know. Maybe I missed it in what you said, but
So I believe it was looked at one point as far as Belcher and Litwin and that whole combining went. But I also will be transparent and say that this project took place over a transition of administration, to the point where when one administration moved out, we were in the middle of doing all of the preliminary stuff. And so I think some of that kind of got left behind, if I'm being.
I'll also say that Barry is in desperate need of repair or replacement.
and I agree with you. I'm not saying that I'm against any project. I'm just asking questions and trying
that's
to-
not what I'm implying. I'm just trying to, I think it's very difficult to repair because of asbestos. Just, reading through the documentation that was submitted to the MSBA, I can understand, why that was a priority to the committee.
I'd also like to add that the process to getting on the list and accepted by the MSBA started a long time ago. You figure that this committee was formed roughly 2, almost 3 years ago now. That process with the MSBA and submitting the application for the new construction of Barry was submitted even years before that. So a lot of those numbers in the redistricting unfortunately didn't get done. It was something that we did talk about, especially when we started looking at alternative sites and exploring the Zatella School, because it just kind of made sense, but unfortunately the $32 million extra is just a lot right now. I think to
I
approve.
agree with you on that. It just, again, it's something that came to mind. And, we might be talking 5, 10 years down the road of a school that may cost 200,000 or 200 million. I
Right.
don't know. So
Yeah,
I figured I'd ask the
this
question now.
process started at least 5 years ago. So
It's a legitimate concern. I mean, construction costs are only going to go up.
And that, again,
And,
that's why.
and
I'm
that's
asking.
why we did explore design option D3 and a combined Zatella school. And if you're still interested in seeing it, it's not off the table officially yet, and I'd be happy to show it to you.
I'd be open to seeing anything and everything at this point. You guys are asking the city council to potentially approve $104 million, and I know we will get reimbursed for part of it. But again, it's nothing against you guys. You guys have a job to do. We have a job to do, and it's like you guys all said, it's a big burden to put on the taxpayers. So I just hopefully we can get all the answers tonight, and we can make a conscientious decision in the coming weeks, months, or years. So I appreciate all of your time and everyone else that can't be here tonight, and look forward to working with you guys in the future.
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. We're going to move on. We're going to, Counselor Brooks will be next.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I don't want to be redundant, but what I think the traffic concern fails to recognize in this rendering. So if you actually go more southeast, there is an entirety of another neighborhood that's very much going to be impacted by the traffic, especially as you approach Granby Road curve. While I may be willing at some point to concede that a traffic solution created by a rotary would help as you approach the proposed site, it's certainly not going to mitigate what happens when you're leaving the proposed site heading southeast down Granby Road, as historically cars have only picked up speed going down that way. And there are no crosswalks until you get to the very bottom of Granby Road. And there's only one side of Granby Road that has a sidewalk. It will be very, very challenging to find areas of putting sidewalks. For the entirety of Granby Road, starting at the abutment of Chicopee Street all the way up through the intersection of Grattan Street, there are a total of 3 crosswalks, 2 of which are at very busy intersections, and one of which is a crosswalk that we had to create so people could safely cross Granby Road from essentially a convenience store right now. So I'm not sure how that is going to work to include additional sidewalks to address the large amount of local students that would probably walk, whether or not it's with parents or permission slips, or be mandated to because of their child's young age, who may want to avoid vehicular traffic altogether. The soft costs for this site, I would argue, far exceed soft costs from any other site at this point because of the immense amount of infrastructure improvements that are going to be needed for Granby Road. And then I would also ask, would the 5-year moratorium on any work on the Granby Road corridor be amended to allow for the improvements of Granby Road? Because historically, the city of Chicopee has a 5-year moratorium on any construction around new streets. I don't think the neighborhood opposition could be understated. I've attended several neighborhood meetings. I'm not sure that you can appease this neighborhood because I do think that they feel very strongly that there's an adverse impact to what this project will bring. Not only the end project, insofar as the amount of vehicles that will come in to actually perform the actual construction work. So Mary Beth alluded to the heavy trucks, the 18-wheelers. They don't only use Granby Road to get to the air park. They come down Granby Road to access 391 from the Mass Pike. So you're going to have the existing day-to-day traffic that we currently, all of us who live on the Granby Road corridor, deal with. And then you're going to add in heavy construction vehicles. And it was made mention of there was a few fatalities. One of those fatalities occurred while they were paving Granby Road with heavy construction equipment. So the traffic concerns cannot be understated in this site. And I think that the soft costs that are going to be associated with to try to provide the necessary improvements to even make this possibly feasible will far exceed the cost of what we would pay at the current Berry School location, notwithstanding Chapter 97, I think it was referred to, and some of the land takings and land replacements. I think these soft costs, if you did an apples to apples comparison, all things considered, far exceed any of the other two proposed sites. And with respect to the combined schools, I can't in good conscience ever vote for a proposal that would add roughly $30 million to the back of taxpayers. Whether that was an immediate impact because we bond for that over a very long period of time, that hits our ratepayers, and we cannot constantly, argue the point that we try to keep rates low to keep homes affordable if we're going to be willing to spend an additional $30 million of the taxpayers' money. If you look at every house in my ward, on average, 8 out of 10 homes are elderly individuals who no longer have to or want to carry mortgages. So the monies that are coming out of their pocket to satisfy their property taxes are just, in fact, that out-of-pocket expenses in lump sums. So there are a variety of reasons why I'm not in favor of alternative B3. Certainly not in favor. I believe it was D4 was the very first slide with the red X that was on it. And I'd have more of an appetite for one of the other two that were wedged in the middle. I don't want to beat a dead horse. People know I don't support this site location. I'll leave it at that. I thank you all for presenting 3 very detailed plans. Certainly not that I don't want to see a new school. It's just, I think the Zatella location is not the right place for the new school at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Abigail, you next.
I just want to say real quick, thank you for your presentations. You've answered so many questions. At the end of the day, too, I just want to echo that I would like to see something that has at least amount of impact on the children. I know with the first one you were talking about having just kind of different ways, but I think that at the end of the day, that's just going to be so much stress on the kids. I'd rather see a new building built that they just move into, because at the end of the day, they're so young and it's so hard to learn at that age as it is in the world we live in now. So I just really want to just speak on behalf of the children, and just the least amount of impact and stress I think would be the best outcome.
Thank you. Okay, everybody spoke. I'm gonna just a couple things. Just for the record, I do live off Granby Road at that bad bit, just for the record. So a couple of things I just want about this site. One of them is, are they Granby Road where you see, correct me, right here, Traffic Solutions, Granby Road right there. Will there be a light there?
That could be a possible traffic solution. If there was a rotary, there wouldn't be a light. But we'll see when we get the proposed solutions from our traffic engineer.
Okay, so as well as I said with the other school, I'm concerned with this one is because I'm not an engineer, but line of sight that is required for any putting lights in or a crosswalk. You have to have a light of sight. As Councilor Brooks mentioned, Hank's Variety Store, we had a hard time. They measured to give us one there. They literally had to make sure on that one because there's too many curves in a row. Come around the bend, and then there's the other one up by Edgewood Street in that area. So you just said about the if there's a road, it won't be one. But I can tell you when I'm every day, the present school there, what is it? Drive there, I can't see it. Masick, thank you. Masick Drive. Those people are trying to get out for a half hour of that street. And when they're on a little bit of a hill, if you notice where it is, and that's tough. So I'm surprised we don't have a light, as you see at Chicopee Comprehensive High School now, where they all exiting. They don't use Rolf that much. They do look for buses, but it's usually closed most of the time. That's a tough thing. If you look now at Chicopee Comp, Montgomery Street, early morning, they're from the entrance there past the light on Granby Road, that whole area. So it's just, It's just a lot of traffic at one time. And as it was mentioned, the two schools, probably getting out. So I'm not sure why we wouldn't have a light that would allow so many cars, because it's going to be a catch base for trying to get them out of there. I get the Rotary will be inside. I get all that. I get that, but they're all going to go to that entrance. So it's just something to think about there. And then my next question is there I received a phone call. At the end of the park, there's a guardrail, not a guardrail, a fence that opens up. And they were worried about the traffic coming out of there onto their street. But it doesn't look like, looking at the maps of the homes, it's not even going to be there. It's all going to stay within the property. And it's all going to go back onto that one exit.
Yeah.
Everything that's there,
There's going to
correct?
be no access to the property except for the new road that would be constructed through the land
The
that would
Gursky's
take
property.
the Gursky's property, correct. So right now, I believe Daniel Drive like dead ends there.
Yes.
There would be a gate. I mean, you could probably walk through, but you would not be able to drive onto the property from Daniel.
Right. Okay, that's good, because that was brought up at the meeting.
That's the
That was a
intent.
lot of concern at that
Yeah.
last meeting that I went in. And I see the bumper, the trees for the neighborhoods to the,
It
does
would-
this go through a SPRAC review too?
I believe it would have to go through Sprock review, yes, once we
Okay,
got to
so
that
it would
stage.
require those, no different for a city that it is with a potential person building a building or anything like that, would have to follow the same rules, correct?
I
Correct.
believe this site only requires SPRAC, whereas the Garrity Grove site is a little more
Garrity
complicated.
Grove is a little bit more complicated because of the Article 97.
Yes.
So the Article 97, that is going to require conservation approval. It's also going to require Park Commission approval. It also requires city council approval before it even gets to the state legislature for approval. So this site doesn't need to go through any of that. It would just go through the internal Sprock plan review. And to add to the access, Masick Drive would have the same. It would be gated, and you could probably walk to access, but you wouldn't be able to drive onto the property from Masick anymore.
Well, you would want that for the neighborhood that walk to that
Right.
school in the future, through the park.
Yeah,
that area.
and for the recreational fields in the back that would be proposed, the baseball field, there would be parking back there, and it would all be accessed through the Gursky property.
Okay, so, and then I guess I'm gonna follow up with Counselor Brooks, Granby Road being that there's not too many sidewalks, so in the same intent about having busing, going across that street, you mentioned 5 years old or what, 5th grade? Or what did you say?
That walk themselves?
Yeah.
4th and 5th, so like
4th
10,
and 5th
10,
grade.
11-year-olds.
Well, I wouldn't let my kid walk across that street or anybody in that area, no different than Grattan Street. I get that. But this year, Granby Road is curved everywhere you go. And it was mentioned about a lot of cars, and every day I live on that bend and I take my life in my hand, taking it to come out of that street. And they did a lot of improvements, but it's still, you can be there, have a cop there, and they're still gonna speed. It's throughout the city, it's throughout everybody speeds. Unfortunately, everybody has to be in one place quickly. But I guess my point is that I still don't understand how you're gonna get all those, if you have 200 cars now coming out of that street, when right now you probably have 40 cars coming out of that street, 50 cars right now with the school that's there now. Because there's that much parking. I don't think there's much more parking than that, because I go there for games.
There's a substantial amount of parking there because that's their babies. So like those parents are there at 2:00 waiting until 2:30. And I think they have they're like 197 kids
That much?
there.
I think that
It
sounds
could be
right.
more than that, like 200 kids that are there that need to get picked up. So we're talking a decent amount of kids.
Oh.
But
It's
also,
even worse than I thought.
yeah,
Okay, so that's the only thing, no different than the other school. It's about the public safety. It's about how are they gonna get in and out and how you guys are gonna do that. And I like the idea of keeping them all on the property. And my final one is, well, if they do go with this is Satella School site, and it was mentioned 3, 4 times, the Berry School is not part of the demolition. We have to pay for that. And that's including whether we keep it and remodel it for something, because no matter what you do, you have to do the abatement first.
Correct,
So-
and if we keep it and remodel it, we still need to go through the Article 97 process, I believe.
Yeah, so the difficulty is that entire site was deeded for parkland. Before Article 97 was a law, the school was built on the property. So technically even the land that the school is on is parkland. So that chunk of land is part of the land that we need to replace as part of the Article 97 action.
So to do anything with that building in the future, if we don't stay with the Garrity Grove site, it needs to be taken out of Article 97. So we would
Has to
have
be
to
demolished, and it would have to be turned over to the parks.
If it was demolished and turned over to the parks, then we wouldn't have to do anything. But if we were to renovate it or RFP it, it would need to be taken out of Article 97. And we would need to replicate and replace and go through that whole process.
Which we don't have that land to do right now, Harvey.
Correct.
We don't have it in Chicopee
Correct.
at this point. Right now, we're having a hard time finding it for what we're trying to do now
Right.
throughout the city. As I mentioned, I met with the planning director and says, what's there? And there's not much left in the city.
Right.
That's not available. Okay, did you go once already? Second time?
Thank you.
No, go ahead.
This
No.
will be our last
You don't have
time.
to thank me. You get 2 times.
Thank you for the presentation, the information. And was this information in such detail that you presented to us tonight, was that presented to the school committee? What you presented to us tonight, has that been presented to the school committee?
So we've developed the plans further since the school committee meeting, but I believe this presentation was based on the president. I didn't do it, so I don't know offhand.
Yeah, what I'm getting at is, this is a school committee project.
It's a school
because-
building commission project, but yes, yes,
But the school committee has a tremendous role in this,
absolutely.
okay? And I don't want them to be left out.
No,
So so
there
if I-
was a
if I
presentation.
could just finish my thought. Thank you. So basically what I'm saying is, I'm happy that we were informed. But as a former school committee member, I'm hoping that they get this kind of information as well in maybe a special meeting of the school committee. So I spoke with a school committee member today. Okay? And very, very informative, but I don't think had this type of detail. And I do believe that the school committee should get this detail. So they should give us a recommendation. What do you think? You're the school committee.
The school committee has had meetings. There have been presentations. There is a member of the school committee that is on this commission that should be reporting back to the committee to let them know what is going on. I know Bert from Kalo and Beanick has been at, I believe he was at the last school committee meeting to do a presentation. I'm not sure if it was as detailed as this because new information has come out since then, but that is our plan. Our plan is to keep the school committee informed. Our plan is to keep city council informed. As you know, city council has the final say as to what project, the project funding. We make our recommendation to the school committee and also the city council. So we're trying to be as transparent and as open as possible.
That's great news. And I'm hoping that the school committee has the opportunity that we had for this type of presentation where it's a special meeting, they can ask questions. And then maybe they should make a recommendation to the city council on what they believe as school committee people representing the teachers, most importantly, the students and the taxpayers. So they're an important piece of this dialogue, and I'm happy you came to us. And I'm happy that they get this kind of dialogue and presentation so they have the knowledge that they can move forward in regards to this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Shane, do you have a last? I can't see you. You all set?
All set, Mr. President.
Okay, I'm just gonna end with this. I understand where Councilor Costello is coming from, but I met with the mayor because like anything, they are the most important of putting this all together, as Councilor Costello said. They know what the kids need. We don't. They know what everything is. But at the same token, we are the funding for this. And we need to know too. And I've been watching the school committee. He did a good presentation there. There's been a lot of neighborhood things that these not only principals, but the school committee can go to. They could come here tonight. They can go to every other one of those meetings. But at the end of the day, we're still in quite a ways away to do the final. So it's just to keep us informed and sitting last minute, say, here's what we plan. And they spent all that time and all that money and say, oh, it's nothing what we liked. Whereas at least if we do it partially as we do, even with us, before the final, we'll probably have one more just to say, here, we're down to this for you folks. And we got down to these 3 last ones for the school committee. They are the most important part for it. But you don't want to wait to the last minute. It's no different than building a house. You go meet with the person and you do something and say, oh, go home. Your wife says, nah, I'd rather change this, or I want to do this. It takes time, but you keep them informed. But the final one will be with the school committee and with the city council, because I will call another one to make sure before I'm going to spend the money. I want to know what the school department said.
Right.
And that's what it's about. It's what the school department says to us, and they have the right to come public input. We can have a double one, but it's important that we know, because we as counselors are hearing it in the streets. What are we doing?
Right.
Yeah, are you going to put it where? Well, they're still working on it. We can at least give them some answers. It's not fair that we don't have an answer. School department gets theirs and we should have ours. So with that said, I want to thank you all for being here. Everybody is all set. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. You did a great job. I learned a lot, and I got some answers that I'm going to go back and tell folks. And I want to thank everybody else, for the city council, for doing your job tonight, of being here tonight to at least listen to it. It's a lot of taxpayers' money that we're trying to spend the right way. Thank you all. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. Roll call.
President Laflamme,
Yes.
Roy, Ariaga,
Yes.
Brooks,
Yes.
Goff,
Yes.
Crumpets,
Yes.
Shumsky,
Yes.
Labrie,
Yes.
Piniac Costello.
Thank you all and have a good night.